In the vast, forgotten stretches of Elgin, Illinois, the day was cloaked under a heavy blanket of gray clouds, casting a somber shade over the desolate back roads. These roads, rarely trodden and quietly eerie, seemed to carry with them a palpable sense of forewarning. It was here that Kale, a retired Canine unit German shepherd, lay resting in the cracked pavement. Kale's body bore the marks of a storied career, scars that were not only physical, but also whispered of deeper, unseen wounds. Each blemish narrated tales of bravery, sacrifice, and the indelible bond shared with his handler. Kale's ears twitched at the faint, yet growing rumble of engines in the distance, a sound oddly discordant with the usual tranquility of the area. Despite his scars and the fatigue that clung to his limbs, there was a resilience in his posture, an unspoken readiness that spoke volumes of his training and instinct. He did not move, his eyes, wise and watchful, fixed on the horizon from where the disturbance approached. His senses, though partly dimmed by age and retirement, were alert to the brewing storm carried not by the wind, but by the engines of an approaching menace. Suddenly, the tranquility was shattered by the thunderous arrival of 9 motorcycles, their engines echoing like a herald of chaos across the otherwise silent landscape. The riders, clad in black leather vests adorned with red patches and grim symbols, circled around Kale, who remained a solitary figure amidst the growling beasts of steel and fuel. The men got off the motorbikes one by one, their boots hitting the ground with a thud that seemed to resonate with a sinister intent. Leading this formidable group was a man named Osri, a relic of darker times. His presence commanded attention, the kind that suffocated the air with an unspoken threat. His arms, inked from wrist to shoulder, told stories of past violence and silent power, each tattoo a badge of survival and dominance in a world ruled by lawlessness and fear. As Osri stepped forward, his eyes narrowed, recognition flickered across his face like a flash of lightning. "This is not a stray dog," muttered Barton, the youngest of the group, his voice barely hiding the unease that Kale's presence provoked. Osri's jaw clenched, his response terse and loaded with a chilling resolve. "No, this is his dog." The words hung in the air, heavy with implications. They all knew who he referred to: Ephraim Dalla, a man once a military cop turned phantom, whose past was shrouded in scandal and mystery. Kale was not merely a dog, he was a message, a symbol of challenges unmet and battles unfinished. And Osri hated being challenged. Without a word, the youngest motorcycle's Barton stepped forward. With a swift and brutal kick to Kale's ribs, the assault began. The sound of Kale's pained yelp pierced the heavy air as another biker followed Barton's lead, their actions a grim dance of cruelty. Miles away, secluded in a rustic cabin nestled deep within the woods, Ephraim Dalla felt a sudden, inexplicable shudder of dread. Dropping the axe he had been using to chop wood, he paused, his instincts on high alert. Years of military and law enforcement training had honed his senses to detect unseen dangers, and now they screamed in warning. Something was terribly wrong. His mind raced to Kale, the loyal companion with whom he had faced countless perils. Without hesitation, Ephraim grabbed Kale's old leather leash, the one still engraved with the battle-worn name Phantom Unit, and made a decision that churned his stomach with a mix of fear and resolve. He would return to the world he had left behind, a world where ghosts of the past lingered, waiting to reignite old battles. The drive back to Elgin was a blur. Ephraim's thoughts clouded with the worst scenarios, his heart pounding against his chest like a drumbeat of war. As he approached the familiar, desolate roads, scenes of past missions flashed before him, each one a reminder of the dangers he and Kale had faced together. The bond between man and dog was not merely one of companionship, but of shared survival against all odds. This bond now drove him with an urgency that was palpable. Upon his arrival, the sight that greeted him confirmed his fears. Kale lay on the ground, surrounded by the scattered remnants of the morning's tranquility, now shattered. The dog's once vigorous frame was heaving with shallow breaths, the ground beneath him stained with the red ink of his blood. Ephraim's eyes scanned the horizon, his jaw clenched as he absorbed the scene, his worst nightmare unfolding before his very eyes. But it was not just vengeance that fueled Ephraim's rapid heartbeat. It was also a deep, unyielding need to protect his friend, to right the wrongs inflicted upon an innocent soul who had served only to protect. As he knelt beside Kale, gently running his hand over the dog's battered body, a silent promise was made, a promise of retribution and justice. The storm that Osri and his gang had reawakened was now theirs to face, and Ephraim would ensure they did not weather it unscathed. After securing Kale in a makeshift stretcher, Ephraim set his jaw against the biting wind that swept through the deserted roads of Elgin. His once tranquil haven, a cabin nestled deep in the woods, now transformed into a makeshift command center as Ephraim plotted his course of vengeance. Each member of Osri's gang was marked on an old map, a dot representing a haunted past and a reckoning to come. His eyes, cold and calculating, traced the routes these bikers might take, his mind weaving through tactical approaches honed by years of military discipline. Ephraim's first move was calculated to send a clear message. He was not just back, he was a phantom, a specter of their worst fears realized. He started with the bars and hideouts where the we're known to congregate, places where graffiti-stained walls and the stench of cheap alcohol formed the backdrop of their brotherhood. Under the cloak of night, Ephraim's silhouette moved through these haunts. Underneath a bottle of whiskey left on a table, he placed a photo of Kale, bloodied and beaten, with a simple note: "Justice for the fallen." The effect was immediate. Whispers turned into shouts as the photo made its rounds, with Barton, the youngest and most volatile, reacting with visible panic. The motorcyclist knew, as the weight of Ephraim's silent threat hung over them, that their days of reckoning were upon them. Ephraim watched from the shadows, his features shrouded as the seeds of fear took root. Each member of the gang glanced over their shoulder, their laughter turning hollow, their camaraderie strained by the knowledge of their forthcoming doom. But Ephraim didn't stop at psychological tactics. His next encounters were direct and confrontational. He ambushed them when they least expected, on lonely stretches of road or in the dimly lit parking lots of their frequented spots. Each strike was swift and precise, leaving bikers disarmed or incapacitated. He wasn't there to kill. He was there to dismantle their sense of security, piece by piece. His most daring confrontation occurred at the Red Pine Saloon, a notorious motorcyclist haunt. Ephraim entered unannounced, his presence alone silencing the cacophony of rowdy banter and clinking glasses. His approach to Barton was silent but deadly in intent. Slipping a photo of Kale under Barton's arm, Ephraim whispered just loud enough for him to hear, "You can't outrun your past, nor can you escape the consequences." Before the bikers could react, Ephraim was gone, swallowed by the night as swiftly as he had appeared. As fear spread through the ranks, Ephraim's strategy began to fracture the once tight-knit group. Paranoia crept in, turning allies into potential threats. Each motorcyclist wondered who would be next, and whether their loyalty to Osri was worth the imminent danger that now hunted them like a shadow. Ephraim's return had ignited a storm of fear and suspicion, and as the gang unraveled, he prepared for the final act of his meticulously crafted vengeance. Ephraim's calculated vengeance culminated under the dark sky on the outskirts of Elgin, where the air was thick with the scent of an impending storm. Ephraim, dressed in a dark coat that merged with the night, waited in the shadows, his breath visible in the crisp air. His eyes, steely and focused, were fixed on a dilapidated warehouse where Osri and his remaining followers were holed up. As Osri emerged, the sound of his heavy boots on the gravel was the only noise disturbing the ominous silence. The tension was palpable, a physical force between the two men as they faced each other in the deserted lot. Osri, with his imposing frame and tattooed arms, the fearsome leader of the notorious motorcycle gang. But his eyes betrayed a flicker of uncertainty as he recognized the man he had wronged years ago. "You should have stayed gone, Ephraim," Osri growled, his voice echoing slightly in the open space. Ephraim's response was calm, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "I came back to rectify a wrong, Osri. You hurt what was mine, and you broke a code that we once vowed to uphold." The standoff was not just a confrontation of physical might, but a battle of wills, as both men were warriors shaped by their past, now standing on opposite sides of a moral divide. Ephraim's gaze was unyielding, his stance rigid with resolve, signaling he was not just there to fight, but to impart a lesson in loyalty and retribution. Osri smirked, a harsh sound escaping his lips as he unsheathed the knife, the blade glinting under the faint light of the moon. "Loyalty? You're going to lecture me about loyalty after you turned your back on everything we built?" "It wasn't built on honor," Ephraim countered swiftly, his own hand resting on the gun holstered at his side, though he made no move to draw it. "You built it on fear and betrayal. You hurt Kale, my partner, to lure me out. You forgot the most basic tenet we lived by. Protect those who stand by you." The air between them crackled with the intensity of their shared history, laden with unspoken accusations and regrets. Suddenly, Osri lunged forward, his knife slicing through the air. Ephraim dodged, his training instinctual, and the physical brawl that ensued was brutal. Each blow was laden with years of betrayal, each parry a dance of fate they had been entwined in far too long. As they grappled, Ephraim managed to disarm Osri, pinning him against the cold metal of a nearby car. His breaths were heavy, his voice hoarse as he leaned close to Osri's ear. "This isn't just for Kale. It's for every moment you chose the easy path of cruelty over the hard road of honor." In that critical moment, Osri's resistance waned, the fight draining from his body as the weight of his choices bore down on him. Ephraim stepped back, holstering his weapon, his chest heaving from exertion and emotional turmoil. He looked down at Osri, now slumped against the car, defeated not just physically, but spiritually. "This ends here, Osri. Walk away from this life. Find redemption if you can." Ephraim's voice was softer now, but no less commanding. As he turned to leave, the first drops of rain began to fall, washing away some of the night's grime. Ephraim didn't look back. As the dust settled and the echoes of confrontation faded into the night, the solitary figure of a defeated man sitting amidst the debris of his former empire was stark against the early morning light breaking over Elgin. In the quiet aftermath, Osri was left to grapple with the weight of his choices. The realization dawned painfully that his path of fear and betrayal had led him not to power, but to ruin. As Ephraim's words resonated in his mind, Osri understood the gravity of his missteps and the deep scars they had inflicted on others and himself. This was a turning point, one that could lead to redemption or further despair. The choice was his to make. Meanwhile, Ephraim and Kale began their journey back to a life of peace. The road home was lined with the golden hues of dawn, casting long shadows that seemed to echo the trials they had endured. As they reached their haven in the woods, it was as if nature itself breathed a sigh of relief with them. Kale, though scarred and weary, wagged his tail with the resilience of a creature who knows he is home, safe and loved. Ephraim watched him with a profound sense of gratitude for the loyalty and courage Kale had shown, lessons he would carry forever. In the days that followed, their life regained a rhythm of serene normalcy, but with a deeper understanding and appreciation for each other. This bond was not just about companionship. It was about mutual respect, protection, and sacrifice. It underscored a simple, powerful truth. Loyalty and forgiveness are strengths, not weaknesses, and they can overcome the darkest of pasts. If this story has moved you or made you reflect on the bonds you share with those in your life, be it human or animal, please like and share this video. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one, and don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out on new videos we share every day. Your engagement helps us to bring more content like this to you and others who appreciate the profound connections and life lessons that our animal companions teach us. Join us in the comments below to share your own stories of loyalty, resilience, or redemption. Thank you for watching, and remember, each subscription and like helps us to bring more heartfelt stories like Ephraim and Kale's to light.